Hello, this is our screencast over using credible research in our essays. Credibility matters. Ancient Greeks saw any argument being composed of three basic aspects. Hopefully this should just be a review for you. We have ethos, and that is the ethics or believability of the argument. An argument with ethos means that the speaker or writer is is trustworthy. We can believe him or her. We have pathos, the writer or speaker makes it an appropriate emotional appeal. An argument with pathos means that the writer understands us. And then we have logos, the logic and reasoning behind any argument. An argument with logos presents the argument in a way that the audience can understand and has sound reasoning and evidence behind it. We'll look into this more next week when we get into our persuasive writing section, but these three things are good to know as we move into informative writing too. Ethos, pathos, and logos all work with informative writing as well. Credibility, as it says there, matters because if we cannot trust a writer, we can't trust the essay. So it's important to distinguish between casual reading versus credible research, because I don't want to make it sound like we are just ripping on casual reading. Casual reading is fine, but when we do casual reading, we typically do it for non-academic purposes. We're reading for entertainment, and we're not trying to be convinced of anything. We're just looking for some more information. Methods for casual reading might include things like general Google searches, Wikipedia or other wiki sites, and so on. Now, Wikipedia by itself is not bad. It's great for just general information, but it is not academic. It's good for casual reading. It's not great for credible research. When we do credible research, we're looking at a scholarly, academic purpose. We're reading for information. We're reading for evidence. We're reading for analysis. We're being critical as we read. We're evaluating arguments, our methods. We're using research databases. We're looking at peer-reviewed journals, for example. Peer review, by the way, means a committee of experts in the field have read it, evaluated it, and verified it. It is the best of the best. So an important thing to note here is that a general search engine is not a tool for credible research. Do not use Google for your research. For reading with a scholarly purpose, that means that we have a high academic standard. So avoid Google, Yahoo, Bing, well, avoid Bing in general, but avoid general search engines for searching for sources to integrate into the essay. Types of sources or sites that are not credible. Encyclopedias and dictionaries. Technically, yes, they are peer-reviewed, but they are just general reference pages. They are not good for use at a college level. Any sort of wiki, including Wikipedia, and that is because they are created by users whose credibility is not verified. Any sort of blog. This includes addresses using Blogger or WordPress. Blogs have come a long way since the early days of the internet, but it's a complicated issue. For a 101 class, avoid blogs. These are created by users whose credibility is often not verified. Users post their responses here when credible sites have rejected them, and often blogs tend to promote conspiracy theories lacking logic and evidence. Any site with non-scholarly advertisements or a store selling its own good is a sign that it's not a credible site. A lot of these do have good intentions, but let's be fair, most of them are scams. The rest are for entertainment purposes only. So examples of non-credible research looking at biased political sites. The extreme left or extreme right in the United States are sites to avoid. On the extreme left, Mother Jones, The New Yorker, Salon, or even sites that lean toward the left, MSNBC, the Huffington Post, Washington Post. Either side, Breitbart, the Drudge Report, the Media Research Center, which really sounds credible, but when you get into it, it's basically just a far-right site slamming the news media. Fox News and programs, Wall Street Journal, The Blaze, any of these sites tend to be more biased than anything else. They are great for entertainment purposes and for just general information, but we should not cite them in academic essays. Here's a handy chart for us. Notice this has the partisan bias in the center, and along the left-hand side it goes from complex down to just sensational or clickbait. So on the far right, InfoWars, Breitbart, The Blaze, Red State, Daily Caller. On the far left, Occupy Democrats, Natural News, Addicting Info. We'll talk about David Wolf and Natural News here in just a bit. Avoid these sites, especially for academic essays. Something more credible, though, The Economist, leans right, but it's very well put together, very well written. Likewise, The Atlantic leans left, but it's also very well put together, very well written. The sites up here will give you a very balanced perspective. So sites that sound scientific but are not. Natural News. Sounds like it's a great organization, but it promotes anti-government, anti-vaccination conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are not good for academic research. They might be fun to discuss on your own or watch a program on History Channel, but it's not good academic research. David Wolfe, or Vanny Hari, sometimes called the food babe. You might have heard of these people. Neither one of them has any sort of medical training. Both have been proven repeatedly to lack understanding of even basic scientific concepts. David Wolfe, for example, once wrote that solar energy is an awful thing because we are stealing the energy from the sun and we're going to make the sun die off sooner. The Food Babe, for example, once had an article on how airplanes were killing passengers by not using a 100% oxygen environment. Anyone with a simple scientific background would know that a 100% oxygen environment would cause the plane to explode into a fireball at the slightest static shock even. So these are not credible people to be citing in their essays. They often promote conspiracy theories. They often promote anti-vaccination theories, and both of them have stores on their sites that are trying to sell you something rather than actually promoting any good science. They promote products as alternatives to valid peer-reviewed medicine. Do not use these sites. Andrew Wakefield, another anti-vaccination person, his research claimed a link between vaccines and autism, but it has been thoroughly refuted and debunked. Unfortunately, he's still around causing a ruckus. He lost his medical license, by the way, when it was proven that he faked the results. Joseph Mercola technically is a doctor, but he is more interested in selling products than sound medical advice. Quick example here. This is from Dr. Mercola's site. This is something that you can purchase on his website. This is the grounded standing floor mat. On drmercola.com, I've had students cite from him and not realize that basically this is one giant store. Now, scientifically, let's take a look here. First off, it's $109. You get $27.25 off. What a savings. As we go through this, looking at the description, it promotes some really weird pseudoscience. Basically says that, as it says here, used while either standing or sitting, it allows free electrons to flow from the earth and then to your body via the soles of your bare feet, throughout your tissues, helps maintain your body at the same negatively charged electrical potential as the earth. Take a look at this passage here. Made from extra sturdy, half-inch thick, conductive, carbonized rubber. Okay, anyone with a science background should know that the reason why electricians wear rubber boots, rubber gloves, is because it is non-conductive. So again, just further proof that this is a whole bunch of pseudoscience. Avoid it at all costs. Do not use this in your essays. Do not use Mercola or other sites like him. Avoid sites using name-calling like Big Pharma, shills. They use these names to scare us. These sites all have stores. Their purpose is to take our money, not to educate us. So here's a big thing here. Evidence that is not credible will not count toward the research requirement of the assignment. So if you have a question about a source, ask before you use it. If you're using non-credible evidence, it will result in a significant loss of points on the essay's final grade. So we have a spectrum of credibility, and these are some general questions that we can ask. Do we know the author's first and last name? Does the author have verified credentials on the discipline that he or she is writing about? Can we identify the publisher or sponsoring organization? Is it a for-profit organization? That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's good to know. So what do critics of the author, publisher, or organization say? Sometimes I find a site that I think sounds credible, but then I look at critics online and I start to realize, oh, it's not as credible as I thought it was. So it helps us determine the source's credibility when we don't have enough evidence for ourselves. But we can avoid this by using the research databases instead. So we should do our research, as I said in the previous screencast, when we are writing our essays. That helps us see what's already been said so that we're not just repeating or summarizing others' ideas, helps us see gaps so that we can put a fresh spin or unique perspective on the topic. Should always be done with the brainstorming portion of the writing process. We may need to do more as the essay takes shape. So the simplest way to always guarantee credible research is to use the databases provided by the Washburn University Mabee Library. You have access to full-text articles, peer-reviewed articles, and citation tools to help make citations easy. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because we have another screencast on using the Mabee Library. But as you can see here, we have screenshots that take you step by step on sources that you can be using. And again, I'll be covering this in our final screencast for this week. All sorts of tools, including citation tools, email, downloading. Now, if you cannot find a source in the research databases, then you have one of two options. One, you can change your search terms through synonyms. So, for example, instead of saying euthanasia, do physician-assisted suicide, right to die, mercy killing. The other option, sadly, is to change your topic. A topic without research database support is not an academic essay topic. You must use the Washburn University Library research databases to find your source for this week's midterm essay and also your final essay 3 for the semester. You cannot do general Google searches. If you have a question about a source, make sure to ask. There are those steps again for integrating a source properly: set the context, introduce the evidence, cite it properly, and respond to the evidence. And I know this is a copy from an earlier slide, but it's just that important. Non-credible evidence hurts our credibility as scholars. If we use such evidence, we've lost an audience's trust. So no, we cannot use non-credible evidence even after we've fulfilled the evidence requirement. We can't say, well, I'll use 3 credible sources plus 1 more. Unless you are writing an essay analyzing non-credible sources, do not use them. It will result in a significant loss of points on the essay's final grade. If we're using non-credible sources, more than likely the essay research portion is going to end up being a 0 and will result in a failing grade. That's our screencast over using credible research. Let me know if you have any questions.